Hi there, it's Poopi Cat here, and today we are drawing a sketchbook piece. You probably noticed the screen that I just shared, and that is my color rough sketch. So I always like to use my iPad for roughing out colors, which helps me with the traditional media process and helps me avoid little happy mistakes when I do it traditionally. So I always keep this screen with me just in case I need to refer to the colors a little bit more. For this sketchbook drawing, I didn't actually start with watercolor. I usually do, but because I wasn't sure how this paper was going to hold watercolor and my pencil crayons, I decided to just opt for pencil crayons only as a base, which is something I don't do as often. Well, thankfully it went well. You'll see the process. So here, all I'm doing is layering down some pencil crayons, very light colors like green, yellow for the grass, and the way I'm doing this here is just using the colors to mimic my light and my shadows. So I started from the bottom, which you're seeing me add the base right now, and I'm only adding that base in relation to where my light is, and later on a little bit of a darker pencil to show where my shadows are going to be. So I like to lay down the groundwork first just to get an idea of the colors that I'm going to be applying, and you'll notice that every time I start a new part like the flowers or the character, I won't be voicing that over just because it's always very much the same process. I like to lay down very light colors first and then kind of move on to the darker, more saturated or more vibrant, more precise colors as I go. So this part is only me adding the base colors in relation to where I'm placing the light and the shadows, and that's pretty much that. I would like to note that I'm using the Ohuhu Mixed Media Sketchbook Pad. It's ideal for wet and dry media, so that's the one I'm using. And as for pencils, I started with the Tombow, it's kind of like a hard pencil colored lead pencils that my friend got from Japan, and I love them. They're great. They're a little bit harder on the lead, and they're great for base and just filling in tiny little details. The other pencil that I will be mainly using in this video is Caran-d'Ache, the Luminance pencils. They're really great pencils for pigment. That's my favorite pencils at the moment that I've just started experimenting with, so really, really fun. And they are a little bit of a thicker lead, but they do not break easy, which I really, really enjoy about them. So the other one is a little bit lighter on the pigment, but like I said, awesome for little details that are in the little crevices of the paper, which is what I like to use them for. And the other pencil that you will see me use is Prismacolor, the Color Soft variations of these pencils. I like them just because they have different shades than Caran-d'Ache, and so you'll notice that some parts will be with Prismacolor. They're also very awesome for pigment. Just again, the lead does break a lot easier for them, which is why I prefer the Caran-d'Ache currently. So yeah, this is pretty simple process. It's just the same thing for every single thing, back and forth, back and forth. But I will say I have learned a new thing, and it's drawing leaves. I've always struggled with drawing leaves for some reason, even though I love drawing foliage. I was enjoying drawing a little bit of the shadows where the veins of the leaf was going, and then kind of blending that out into a lighter color. And then same thing with the flowers, just, having a little bit of a lighter base, and then putting in a little bit of a darker spot where the shadows would be in the flower, which is kind of closer to the bottom because that's where all the foliage is, which would create shadows. And then bring the color out to a lighter, maybe a little bit more pigmented color closer to the top of the item or the flower. And so I do this back and forth, and you'll see me playing around with the bottom for quite some time here. So yeah, so I'm just gonna let a little bit of music playing, and then if you have questions, please let me know in the comments. I would like to note that I like to add warm colors or a warmer variation of a color into the areas that have light seeping through them. So for instance, the flower petals will get some yellow, the leaves will get a warmer green, the skin tone of the character may get a warm green/yellow, and you'll notice that that's going to bring a little bit of warmth into the drawing. So I really like to add those little details when I color parts, as you'll see. Another tip/comment that I like to note is that I love the neon pencils that Prismacolor offers. They have a neon pink, a neon orange, and a neon yellow, and I love to use those for bright glowy areas. So in the magical part of this drawing where there's a little fairy hiding in the flower, I wanted that fairy to glow, which is why I'm layering a base of neon pink on top of the flower, and we'll be coloring that fairy with that, as well as adding neon yellow wings when I get there. Another layering tool that I love to use is the Acrylic crayons that they have. They're new colors, I believe, and I like to layer them on top of pencil crayons sometimes just to add more pigment, as I did with the flower in the purple. And sometimes when there's reflection of a bounce color or bounce light happening, I'll add that color on top of the pencil crayon in darker areas. So sometimes with pencil crayons you cannot layer anymore if you've already pressed too hard, and those Neocolor crayons, they will go on top. I mean, just only a certain amount of them that you can add, of course, but I always like to mindfully add them when I can, to add some light or more saturation, maybe a little bit more texture, so they're great to have as well. And those are by Caran d'Ache too. Another little tip for you guys is to always sharpen your pencils when you are doing small details and to take your time. I think I say this in every single tutorial or speed paint video I've done, but please take your time, be patient with the process. That's the huge key to traditional media, or anyways, the way I work anyways. So take your time with small details. Another thing to note is that colors will bounce onto everything, literally. So this character is facing the shadows, or not facing the light, so there's definitely a lot going on in terms of grays and greens from the grass and his own skin tone and clothes tone. So I like to kind of add a base color that relates to the whole environment as a whole, so like the main color that I'm gonna see, as well as adding the actual color of the clothes that he's wearing, with adding a little bit of light and the shadow in there. So the shadows will be a little bit grayed out and the light will have a little bit more of like a warm ring glow to it, which is what I'm doing here. Also want to add another note to trust the process, because sometimes when you add some colors, especially when you're adding shadows, it might make some things look a little bit weird or scary. So right now with the blue eyes and the bright tone and the shadows of the face, this character might look a little bit scary, but that's okay, that's normal. Don't worry, you gotta just keep layering on your colors one step at a time. So when you get to that point like that where things happen like that, just keep pushing through. Trust me, it will work out. was getting late, so I had to go back home from my studio, and this is why the setting has changed now. Hopefully the lighting is still okay. extra tip that I have is when you have, for instance, red and you want to go darker, try using some sort of desaturated darker green. That will neutralize the red but also make it a little bit darker. I find when my pencils are not layering as deep as I want them to, using a complementary color will always help me achieve a little bit of a deeper look. Obviously using black helps as well, but sometimes there's only so much you can use, and sometimes it's also a better choice to use a bit more color than just a shade. So anyways, that's just a little tip for the day. I don't know why, but this part was probably one of my favorite parts to draw, and I still don't know why looking back at the video now. I just love drawing the sleeve. I think it's because I've acquired a new understanding of how to draw leaves, like I said in the beginning, and this was just really fun and therapeutic to draw. clip did not film when I did the paper cuts, but basically I cut out some of the same paper from the sketchbook, and then I kind of sized them before drawing on them, and then I used the Caran-d'Ache Neocolor crayons to then color the leaves to add to the paper. The final part is all about detailing, so I like to use some of the Neocolors to add a little bit more details in the grass, or anything that I could see could use a little bit more pigment or a deepening of a color. Another thing that you will see me use is the Ohuhu paint markers. So I really like them because there's a lot of variety of colors, and I like to use those for extra details, whether that's in the flowers, the extra leaf shapes, maybe adding highlights. So for instance, adding highlights into the eyes, that little blob of like white that you see in the eyes. So I like to use that for that. Just separating items from stuff or fixing a couple mistakes. Sometimes I like to use those for that. And yeah, like extra details in the flowers, you'll see me add some little wisps of stuff in there. So that's kind of like what I use those pen markers for, and that's it. It's just about wrapping up this drawing and then being really happy with it. I think it's really fun. I've missed doing things in my sketchbook like this, so hopefully you guys can enjoy or have enjoyed this video. And if you have any questions or would like to see more like this, please let me know in the comments. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.